Hey everybody, welcome to the Entrepreneur Motivation Podcast. I'm your host, Chris Bello, and I'm really excited to be bringing you a special guest here today, Conor Watkins. Conor, if you want to go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hey guys, my name's Conor Watkins. Been an entrepreneur pretty much throughout my teenage life. I started out pretty much out of high school. I remember working a couple of part-time jobs, Best Buy. I used to work at Boot Barn as well, selling boots, selling electronics. That's something that I was good at. I wanted to pursue sales, later in my career. I didn't really find real estate until I, took that initial step to get my real estate license, which, most people ask, hey, Conor, what made you get into real estate? And honestly, the answer is, I didn't have any friends or family that were in the business. I just knew that, obviously I'm not going to be a car salesman, so I want to do better things in life. And I was like, maybe selling homes would be cool. At that point, it was more of like a dream. I got my license out of high school right when I was 18. As an agent, you have to join a brokerage, for those of you that don't know. So I was shopping around different brokerages, and most of them, they won't give you any leads or anything like that. You kind of have to build your own referral-based business. That's what most people do when they start out. Whether that's create a website or start door knocking or whatever it is. But I knew, I was like, man, if I did that, shoot, I'm still living with my parents. It would probably take me a couple of years before I see real success, right? So I'm thinking to myself, I need to join a brokerage that's actually going to give me free leads, which I end up coming across one. The brokerage I joined, they specialize in apartment leasing. I started, leasing apartments as a locator. I did really well.
Really well? Understatement.
Understatement. There was about 50, 60, 70 agents in the company at that time. I was for sure the youngest. Most people looked up to me as more than somebody that's just, your average 19-year-old. Obviously, I was doing bigger things. I was continuously progressing in the company.
That's impressive that you started at such a young age, because even now when you told me your age and you were like surprised that I was already 29, I'm like, I know I feel late in the game.
Yeah,
but when I was 18, I was not doing this stuff. So guys listening, like guys and girls listening, take this as motivation. I mean, it's never too late to start, but the earlier you can start, the better.
Absolutely. Yeah, earlier the better.
So people were looking up to you and your company even though you were one of the younger people.
For sure. And,
That's awesome.
Honestly, it did create a lot of envy. I'll talk about that a little later on. It created a lot of envy, a lot of jealousy. People were just like, man, how is this guy doing it? He's closing deals, working from home. At that point, I got to the point after working there for about a year, I was just progressing so quickly, I was closing, 20, 30 deals a month.
Wow. How many hours would you say you were working a week? You're probably going pretty hard, right?
Yeah, that's a great question, actually.
Because a lot of people don't know what kind of work's associated with that kind of results.
Absolutely, yeah. So, I was waking up early. Early for me is like 9 a.m.
But it was still early.
And,
if you're a night owl, 9 a.m. can be tough.
Yeah, 9 a.m. And I was going till about 5. I was literally like, in my mind, I'm like, man, I got to do whatever it takes to make this money. It's commission only. I'm just going to treat it like a 9 to 5. That's literally what I told myself. And, sure enough, obviously, by putting in the hours, I got the results. Later down the line, I realized, you can't treat this business like a 9 to 5.
Right. When it's your own business, it's never a 9 to 5. It's every day, 24/7, right?
Absolutely. You never know when the phone's going to ring.
Every ring is an opportunity. Even on vacation, you're like, man, I want to answer the phone.
Absolutely. And I was closing these deals so quick. Not even gonna lie, I remember a guy calling in to my cell phone, hey Conor, I need an apartment ASAP. I said, well, what's your budget? And he said, $1,300. And I said, well, where are you trying to stay? And he said, anywhere downtown. I said, oh dude, I got a deal at Ashton West Dallas right now. They have a 1-bedroom, 1-bath for $1,250 a month. Can you tour today? And he goes, I can go right now. And
awesome.
I said, wow, okay. I'll call him and let him know, you're on the way. An hour goes by. guy calls me back, "Hey Connor, I just signed and I put your name down on the application."
Wow.
So literally in a 45-minute phone call, I just made $1,600.
That is incredible.
Yeah. So
start to finish. But of course, we talked about this too recently. Sometimes they don't pay you for a long time.
exactly. So yeah, that's one of the downsides to the apartment locating business is the payment process. Oftentimes, it takes 3 to 4 months after the client moves in to get paid. So if my client didn't move in till 2 months from now, I have to wait another 3 to 4 months to get that check. So I've had my highs and lows in apartment locating. At my peak, I was doing multiple six figures a year. Actually, I've been in the apartments for about 2 years. I did for about 2 years, and then I'll tell you how I slowly transitioned into real estate investing and flipping and stuff like that. But yeah, that's kind of my background starting out. As I was closing those deals, a year. To move forward, a year goes by, and the company ended bad terms with me. Make a long story short, but I ended up starting my own apartment locating business, and I still succeeded in that. And every objection that has come to me, I was able to overcome, and it just made me stronger who I am today.
Yeah, and I think a lot of successful entrepreneurs also talk about, you can take everything away from me, but you can't take away my knowledge and my experience. And if you were to take it all away from me, I could rebuild, which I think is a real good example. His story, where he kind of ended things abruptly with that first company on some bad terms and murky waters, and you just took that knowledge you had and you took the results that you had already accomplished and you just applied it to your own thing. Once you get that taste of success and you've hit a certain number, it's possible. And even if you go to another place or you start over in another market, you know that you're capable of getting to that level and further too.
Absolutely.
Which you've continued to do, of course.
Yeah. So, I didn't let that objection hold me down, and I continued to do well in the apartments. I was working with, a best friend named Ben. Actually, we just did a group podcast together.
Yep.
Y'all should watch that one for sure.
Definitely go listen to that one for sure. Or watch it on YouTube.
Yeah, it'll be on YouTube, probably Facebook, social media. Yeah, I was working with Ben and saw how, we were working apartments together, and saw how he started transitioning into wholesaling, investing in real estate. And this was, over a year ago, right? But I was still working apartments at that time because I knew, that's how I made my money. This is what got me to where I'm at. So I couldn't give that up just yet. And something I always say is the word Carfax. He showed me the Carfax later down the line, where it's like, hey Connor, look at these numbers. Quickly realized, there's more to real estate than just apartment locating. As slow as the payment process was going to be, for me to actually become, like a millionaire, it's going to take me like 5 or 10 years, and then you got business expenses and everything else like that. So, don't get me wrong, you can make 200, 300K in 1 year. However, your business expenses are going to increase. Your
as
living
you continue
expenses
to grow, right?
Absolutely, and that was something that I wanted to touch on. Is a lot of entrepreneurs, when they start making some money, the checks are coming in. Obviously, they don't know how to handle it. They've never made that kind of money before, so most people obviously would treat themselves to a nice vacation, a nice car, and I was one of those guys too. I bought a car 2 years ago, a Alfa Romeo. And sure enough, I influenced Ben to buy a car, which was a Dodge Charger with like 500 horsepower. That thing's crazy fast. Yeah, keep that in mind as the checks are coming in, as you succeed and grow in your business. Don't let the lifestyle take over your business.
It's good advice.
Always maintain cash flow for sure.
I guess a lot of times people have this lifestyle creep. As they make more, they spend more. I think Robert Kiyosaki talks about it in Rich Dad, Poor Dad. It's like a rat race sometimes for those people who start to make more. They spend more, they get a new car, a new house. And if you're not watching your finances and your cash flow, and you're not allocating some money for investments and things that will actually return you some money, you can get in a little bit of a bind where now you really need that cash because you have a bigger mortgage and a bigger car note. So make sure to allocate those expenses appropriately. And even a lot of books that I've read, I'm sure you guys have read or listened to on Audible as well, recommend that you have certain percentages. So like every time you get a check, allocate a certain amount to save for taxes, a certain amount goes straight to your savings, some kind of system like that. So do you have a percentage system that you use right now, or what does your cash flow management look like?
Yeah, so fortunately, I've been able to, save at least half of what I've made
Awesome.
over the years. It's funny, I had a conversation with my parents a few weeks ago just about monthly expenses, business expenses, personal expenses, because, they always check up on me and see how I'm doing financially, especially as, I'm flipping houses and stuff now, so it's a little bit more crazy.
Taking on a little more risks, right?
Yeah, I mean, not your average 21-year-old, flipping houses and stuff. They're probably looking at me like I'm crazy.
Yeah, I was telling him when I was 21, I was in college, playing a lot of video games and, going to 1 or 2 classes a day. I wouldn't skip class, but I didn't try to work on anything. So I'm really jealous of people who come out of the gates, hustling at 18 or even younger sometimes. So good on you for that.
Yeah. And, I was going back to my parents. I was saying, I was like, yeah, look, Mom and Dad, if I don't make 6 figures, I'm not making any money. And that's pretty much how I look at it now. It's just like,
it's a new baseline, right?
That's a new baseline. That's the new minimum. And they're like, oh, what do you mean? I said, well, Mom, when your expenses are $5,000-$6,000 a month, you got to pay for advertising, marketing. I live in a nice place. Obviously, I drive a nice car. As those bills go up, you need to continue to grow your business as well. Yeah, so that's kind of like my mindset right now. If you don't make 6 figures, you don't make any money. So I'm constantly growing, and obviously, my goal would to be make millions. Everyone wants to make millions, but
right.
Yeah.
And it's funny because that level changes for everyone. Some people right now are probably listening to this like, oh man, I wish I could make 6 figures a year. That would be incredible. Like I wish I had 6 figures in the bank account. And then as you get higher and higher, like you hear Grant Cardone, I think I saw some recent interview. He was like interviewing Logan Paul, and he's like, how much money do you have? How much money did you make? And like Logan Paul whispers it in his ear, and he's like, oh man, like I got that, I got that in my bank account, like in a certain fund or whatever. I forget exactly what he said, but eventually you'll get to a level where even 6 figures is like, man, I remember I used to make 6 figures a year. Now I'm making that a month, right?
Yeah.
So we're all working on getting to that next level. And I think it's important to not necessarily play that comparison game with others. Just play it with yourself.
Definitely.
Every year you want to get better. You want to make more money. But get inspired by people like your story. For those listening now who are making like minimum wage, or maybe they're getting paid $40K out of college, and it's kind of like putting a damper on them because they've got student loans and they've got a job that doesn't even pay enough to pay those back. That can be a very frustrating place. But
Definitely.
if you add value and you start to pursue these high income kind of like sales roles, right? That's where you can really see the potential and I guess have no ceiling on what you're able to make.
Absolutely, yeah, and it just comes down to perspective.
It's all about perspective.
My perspective might be different than Chris's, and
then whoever's listening now, I mean, your perspective. If you're making way more than us, please contact me because I'd like to interview you on my podcast.
Yeah,
but chances are, I mean, I have a lot of entrepreneurs that are just starting out or haven't been in business for too long yet. So I think most of my audience right now is probably in that space where they're like, how do I get to this level that you're on?
Yeah, experience, perspective is what it comes down to.
Surrounding yourself with the right people, right?
Surrounding yourself with the right people. And, I'm not trying to talk, I'm not trying to sound like that guy who just is like, forget this person, forget that person. Yes, I've dropped a lot of friends in my life, especially, from high school who were, whether they were, a bad influence or they were a person that I felt like, I couldn't grow with, either business or personal. People that were holding me down, and I lost like 90% of all my friends coming out of high school, because I mean how many people my age are going to go this path? Probably
true.
1%. I have one best friend, Ben. He stuck he stuck with me this whole way. You know, I've known him for about 6 years. He stuck with me. Like I said, we were leasing apartments together, and then he ventured off into the wholesaling, flipping, and I said, wow, man, you know, what's going on? You know, how much are you making? You know, I want to learn more. And then, you know, I kind of started to dabble into that, since, you know, obviously, you know, one vehicle took me to another as I was able to save up money to be able to invest. Looking at me now, you know, I'm 21, almost 3 years has passed. And now, you know, I could definitely see myself being a full-time investor. You know, I pretty much am. You know, I still do a couple of apartments here and there, but what I realize, you know, comes back to perspective is a $1,200 apartment check is not going to excite you as much as a $30,000 check is when you sell a house. From there, I was like, man, you know, I could really see myself being a full-time investor. And yeah, you know, here I am today. You know, I've done a few houses. Obviously, I'm still humble. I'm still new to the game. There's a lot for me to learn, but just connecting with the right people like Ben, people like Chris, you know, it really kind of influenced me to do better and keep growing my business.
That's awesome to hear. And I mean, like you said, it's really important to be open-minded and have those relationships. I know you just said that you're still, you know, you're staying humble. You still keep learning and surrounding yourself. And I think the minute that you think you know it all is the minute you stop growing and learning, right? So I've met a few people who they kind of act like they know it all. They've already been there, done that. They've been successful, but they kind of cut themselves off from learning or getting to the next level because they think that they're better than everybody else.
Right.
Whereas you've got to understand that you can learn from people all over the place, all over the map, even who may not be financially successful yet, right? Like monks, for example, they have so much knowledge and they don't have any money necessarily because they promise away their possessions, right? But in this game, whether it's in real estate or business or podcasting or whatever, you've got to be able to add value to each other, but also come from a place of selflessness where you're not trying to just get stuff from people. And that's where the magic happens, I think, because whenever you're just trying to get something, people can sense it and they're going to close themselves off from you as well.
Absolutely.
So
yeah,
just networking 101, people skills, it's something that comes easier to some people than others, right?
Definitely. Yeah, you always have to stay open-minded. You never know what, you know, a relationship or a certain person can do for you later down the road. So, you know, you want to stay mutual with everyone.
Yeah, I never burn bridges with anybody. I always get off. I mean, even relationships, as weird as it can be, it's always like, hey, this is what I think is best for us to do, whether it's leaving a company or a relationship or whatever. And then I wish you the best and let me know how I can help you and support you in this next, you know, in the transition.
Definitely. And yeah, it just comes down to surround yourself with the right people. Most people, you know, they wonder, well, how do I start, whether it's in real estate or any other business or venture that you might have, is, you know, the big thing I tell people is just find somebody that has the results you want in life, find out what they're doing, partner with them, do whatever it takes, pay them money, offer whatever, offer to be their assistant and work for free. You know, I mean, if that's one way, do it. But yeah, don't just try to go out there by yourself, especially in real estate. You know, a lot of people, they think they can just get their license and
start making money.
But I tell you, man, there's a lot of people that they don't succeed, and
it's like businesses too, right? Like 98% of businesses and new real estate agents or investors fail because they try to do everything on their own. They try to reinvent the wheel versus aligning themselves with the people who are successful and who can help them to successfully close deals. Yeah,
and that brings me up to something else, Chris. You know, most people would think I'm some genius or some smart 19, 21-year-old guy who just
figured it out,
or has some formula or something. You know, I'm not. You know, I graduated with a 2.8 GPA, and I'm proud to say that. But and you know, I actually didn't go to college. I went to Lone Star for maybe
so you went to the community college for a semester?
I went to the community college, and of course, you know, my parents, they went to college. My mom, she graduated master's at A&M, So I didn't come from like a bum family or anything like that. They wanted me to go to college so bad. I mean,
they were probably disappointed to see when you didn't, right?
Absolutely, they were disappointed, and honestly, that's what fueled me to
prove yourself, right?
Prove myself. Yeah, now, the conversations are different now. So yeah, I was able to prove myself to my parents, my family members, my friends, and yeah, very, very humble and grateful for that. But
and I think it's really important to note too, because a lot of people are torn on this issue. I'm just still so amazed at how you got your license and you got started at such a young age, at 18. At 18, I was like just graduating from high school, and I basically had the next 4 years of my life blocked out from doing much other than school, because I was going to college, I was going to go get this degree. I still didn't really know what I wanted to study, right? So it kind of, I still feel, even though I'm wearing my school ring because it's big in Texas A&M or whatever, I'm still wearing the school ring for the networking purposes and stuff, but I still grapple with that. Was it really worth it? Did I just get 4 years of delay? And I'm not even using my degree now in real estate, right? And the fact that you're having this success without the college degree shows that sometimes it's better to just get started doing the work instead of getting stuck in the learning process.
Absolutely.
Especially in this industry, people go to one class after another, one networking event after the other, when other people are out there closing deals.
Yeah.
And doing the grunt work that is required.
Absolutely. Yeah. And, when I first started out, I was working way more than I am now. Now
You've got systems in place. You've automated more.
Systems, processes. I know what's, I have a better idea of what's coming ahead of me compared to somebody who's just starting out. So
trying to do it all, right?
Yeah. But
that's incredible.
Yeah, and then of course, pros and cons come with entrepreneurship. Pros are you can travel whenever you want. This year, I don't even think Chris knows about this, but the places I've traveled to this year have been awesome.
Where have you gone?
In January, I went to the Bahamas. Actually, I flew out to Miami, took a cruise, a Norwegian all you can drink cruise to the Bahamas, and went to Atlantis. Really cool place, by the way. Yeah, I like to gamble myself, so I was able to gamble over there, and I made I think $800. It was crazy.
Nice. Not as much as these apartment lease fees, but pretty good.
Yeah, that's just an example. So I went to Bahamas, I went to Miami, came back to Houston. A month later, I flew back out to Miami for Grant Cardone's 10X conference.
Right, we talked about that the other day.
If you don't know Grant Cardone, he's an entrepreneur. He sells a lot of courses about motivation, entrepreneurship. He's a great guy.
Sales, yeah, big on sales.
Yeah, I recommend him for certain people. Would I probably go back to the 10X conference again? Probably not.
You probably meet a lot of cool people there, though.
Absolutely.
I mainly go to conferences for the networking and for the connections that you make.
Yeah, definitely. So y'all should check him out if y'all don't know him. Yeah, I went to Vegas twice this year.
That's awesome. So
Yeah.
you did quite a bit of traveling already. And we're only here, we're in October now, but that's also a testament to the fact, when I had my day job, I only had 2 weeks of vacation a year. You can't do all that traveling.
Yeah, I went to Vegas for my 21st birthday. Obviously, dream birthday right there. Was able to, I brought my family. I loved it so much I had to go back again. So, yeah, I flew out to little places here and there as well, just to get away, because, when you live in a one-bedroom apartment and you're an entrepreneur,
It can be lonely, I'm sure.
definitely lonely. You got to keep the vibes up. You have to, be motivated constantly. So
Human energy, plus just a change of scenery really helps.
definitely, yeah. That's, I would say, the pros. Obviously time freedom. Downside, yes, you can get in a financial crunch, especially if you have all your eggs in one basket and you keep doing this one thing, and that's all you know how to do is this one thing. So be open-minded. Stay. You want to keep your options open, no matter your current situation, and that's a big thing. So yeah, the pros, obviously, is how reliable is the income. You guys have to consider that if you guys want to, take this leap of faith and become an entrepreneur. But there's challenges, like we were just talking about. We were just talking about today how me and him, we both went through lawsuits.
Yep.
And
There's the good, the bad, and the ugly, I guess, right?
The good, the bad, and the ugly, man. And when you're going through something like that, yes, I thought about quitting. Unfortunately, I went through my first lawsuit at age of 19. It was rough, but I was able to bounce back really quickly. Didn't let it stop me. If anything, all the negativity, all the hate, if anything, it just fueled me to where I am right now. Now going through that experience, next time something, like that were to happen,
you know how to handle it.
I know how to handle it. I know who to go to.
You got an attorney on speed dial.
I got I pretty much have him on contingency right now.
Yep.
Yeah. So it's a crazy world out there, but it's been an interesting ride for sure.
So what would be one tip that you have for entrepreneurs, I guess, who maybe want to get into real estate, or let's say, to make it more generic, they want to get into something new? Like, how would you find a mentor?
Social media is a great way to connect to people. If you don't know what's going on out there, you're really new, you're really starting out, start looking on social media. Join Facebook groups, start following realtors, entrepreneurs, whatever business
Whatever
you're
your
trying to do.
niche is, right?
Yeah.
Get very focused.
Find out who they are, what they do, where they work, when they work, how much they make. You got to know everything, and then
Copy them exactly.
literally
right?
duplicate. Yeah, take what they know, bits and pieces, learn from each other, and try to partner with them, honestly. And if you can't partner with them, beat them.
Yeah.
So
even better.
And if they don't want to partner with you, then there's probably something wrong with their mindset, or they're just too stubborn.
Yeah, some people are closed-minded and they don't want to share the knowledge. A lot of people think it's like what is it called? Like a zero-sum game, right? Like if you're winning, I'm losing.
Yeah.
Like if you get 1 point, I have 0. But really, it's like an abundance game. 1 plus 1 can equal 3 if you're working together and you have that synergy.
Definitely, yeah. It's not. I don't look at it as a competition too much. I look at it as I'm partnering with people, solving problems, and on a daily basis, and providing value to the marketplace, whatever you're doing. So
absolutely, that's really good advice. So make sure to connect with people on social media, watch what they're doing, follow it closely, and then take the bits and pieces that actually work and apply those things to your life.
Yeah. Definitely.
And those can probably change over the years too, right? With technology changes, and like if you change a market, you might have to do things a little bit differently.
Absolutely. Actually, I just read a good book called Shut Up and Listen by Tillman Fertitta. He talks about how, when the market changes in your business, how to adapt, how to not stay stagnant. So if you guys want a good book, I would recommend that one. Get the audiobook like I did, because I'm not a big reader. And
does he narrate it, or does he have a narrator for it?
He speaks.
That's awesome. I love when the author actually speaks the book out.
Yeah, that's the best part. And
like David Goggins, his audiobook's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Well, he didn't really read it, but he has some, he interjects and gives some of his feedback on some of the stories.
Yeah. Shoot, I've only read a couple books in my life, so that was a really big one for me. I need to do more reading, obviously, but I'm more of a visual kind of guy where I can...
Yeah, auditory video. I love YouTube. I watch a lot of YouTube videos where I can listen and kind of glance at the screen, too.
Definitely.
So, yeah, go check that out, guys. I need to check that book out as well. Well, we had a lot of good advice, a lot of good motivation from your story, as well as a book recommendation. So I guess where can our audience go to find you and to connect with you and see what you're up to?
Yeah, so I want to say thanks to Chris too. I couldn't have
Thank you for having. Yeah, thank you for being on the podcast, man. I'm super inspired just sitting here listening to the story.
Yeah, definitely.
I wish I'm like 8 years older than him. I'm like, man, I'm looking at I'm looking up to you as well.
When he told me he was 29, man, I nearly flipped out of my chair. Yeah,
I know my back hurts. I'm getting old. Like I got a couple gray hairs.
But always a pleasure. Chris runs a great entrepreneur podcast. You guys should all listen to his stuff.
Thank you.
I like, me and Chris, we like networking with like-minded people, entrepreneurs. I mean, you don't even have to be an entrepreneur as long as you have the same mindset, the same goals in life.
Right. You can be successful in your career, whatever it is that you want to do.
Absolutely. So we're always looking to reach out, people, network. You can find me on Facebook, Instagram. My Instagram, it's the Wolf of All Estates. Yeah, feel free to reach out, shoot me a DM. If you want to partner, whether it's real estate or something else, or if there's something else I can help you out with, I would love to.
Awesome. And I'll put all of that in the show notes so you guys can quickly link to it. Definitely recommend following this guy, seeing what he's up to, and keeping tabs on him, I guess, right? Because he's obviously going to go places. He's already accomplished so much in a short amount of time, relatively. So I can't wait to see what else you do, man.
Yeah, definitely.
So great having you on the show again.
For sure.
Thanks so much.
Absolutely. Thank you, sir.
We'll do it again soon.